So earlier in the stream, we talked about like AC Shadows leaks, or as Banana put it, pores at this point, of early copies going out and information leaking about that. We've talked about other potential leaks of upcoming games like what Rocksteady's working on. But today, the biggest story that's going around is a leak for Elder Scrolls 6. What? It leaked? Well, this leak contains a lot of info. Javesh recaps all of it in this post and puts all this stuff out. And so there's been lots of people that have made videos about it and talked about it ad nauseum. And I'm not the only one to say this. Juicehead, as we'll see, did a fantastic breakdown of why this is almost certainly complete rubbish. But the leak is pretty much entirely made up as far as we can tell. It's a lot of like really basic speculation and rumors that have just been collected and basically put into a new thing that are claimed to be original. And it's almost certainly completely made up. So I'm going to start this by just saying this is all almost certainly made up. But it does start an interesting discussion of what they could bring to the table with Elder Scrolls 6. But I do want to point this out because it demonstrates just how easy it is for rubbish to start getting passed around. Because basically, like, you might just see this post and then run with it. Ooh, the source is Xtasales. Okay, cool. I don't know what that is or who that is, but whatever. Turns out that is like a YouTuber, apparently, that made this video. Is this Spanish? What? I'm not sure. Anyway, he has done this stuff, or I don't know. He's done a lot of stuff, but he got his sources from like Colt Eastwood, who got his source from 4chan, and then that guy seemingly just made up the whole thing. It's real nonsense. But to summarize it, let me show you a little snippet from Juicehead's video. Juicehead killed it. I'm going to copy the link to his video and I'm going to post it in chat so you can go give him some love. But yeah, I mean, the whole thing is just complete nonsense, and Juicehead's going to explain why very succinctly and well. So boop, there it is. Let me show you Juicehead tearing this down and explaining why it's stupid.
If you post online in some of the major Elder Scrolls circles, you've probably heard about this big Elder Scrolls 6 leak that is getting a ton of coverage right now. And some seemingly reputable insiders are covering this one,
Emphasis on seemingly.
leading many to believe it could be legit. I've even had a ton of you reaching out to me to cover this one. And this leak does make some pretty major predictions, such as the fact that we should be seeing the Elder Scrolls 6 this year. Initially,
this is sort of a separate thing from all this, but I've also heard people say this. A prediction needs to be like testable for one. So if I just say, hey, around Venus right now is an asteroid that looks exactly like an Xbox controller to a T, but it's the size of a car. We can't test that. Like, we can't find out if that prediction is true. That's just me saying something. And then it's like, well, it could be true, could be false, but you don't know. So therefore I'm right. That's not a prediction. That's just you saying stuff. So it has to be testable, which the game reveal is coming in 2025. That is testable because 2025 is a time period we're in, and we'll be able to tell by the end of the year if it was true. My frustration with some of these things is that by the time like 2025 is over, nobody will remember this guy or this leak. Everybody's going to have moved on. And so there's not really any consequence for just making stuff up. It's just, oh, well, I threw 50 things at the wall. One of them stuck, and that's all I'll be remembered. And you know, that's what we'll do. There are some exceptions. There are some like subreddits that track leakers, which I think Juicehead is going to mention briefly, but there are subreddits that keep track of leakers and give them like reputation scores, which I think is brilliant and is awesome. But that is something to just bear in mind, is that a lot of these leakers just throw crap out there until something sticks. And we'll see it in 2025. Ooh, it's a big prediction. That's like, it's not. They announced the game going on 7 years ago. 7 years ago. Like, it's not that crazy to assume we'll probably hear something about it this year. Their last game released like 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. So chances are we probably see something from Bethesda, whether it's like a reveal, if it's a year or two out, maybe we get another trailer, something. That's not that crazy. It's not a remarkable or novel prediction. It's just really mundane, you know? And leakers will do this too, where they're like, yeah, I've gotten a lot of leaks right. I predicted that Xbox would reveal some games during the summer. And then I also predicted accurately, mind you, that PlayStation would have some games releasing next year. It's like, that's not a prediction, dude. Those are totally normal things. Nobody's impressed. Okay. So just remember when a leaker is like, ooh, I got this accurate prediction over here, question whether it was like a novel, remarkable prediction, or if it was something just totally mundane and uninteresting, like the game's going to be shown this year. Yeah, we need the Todd candle. You're right. Okay. Continue on. Juicehead, the king. Again, if you're not subbed to Juicehead, look how easy it is. Boop, boop. So easy. I think I'm surprised. Yeah, I'm subscribed on my main like personal account, but apparently not on the live channel yet.
I completely wrote this leak off. I thought it was just nonsense, but then I saw quite a few people talking about it, and this is right around the time frame where we tend to get some legit leaks about these upcoming games. This was right around the time when the same thing happened with Starfield. Although sadly, when it comes to this Elder Scrolls 6 leak, it is almost certainly fake and you're being misled. A lot of the people covering this leak right now didn't bother to do the 5 minutes of extra research, so what—
Are you telling me that some of the people that are hyping up Elder Scrolls 6 leaks and speculation didn't do their homework and just ran with it because it told them what they wanted to hear? What? Can you imagine? Yes, everyone, praise be to Todd. Praise be. May Todd be with you and also with you. Continuing.
What you're mostly seeing online is insider Xtasis being credited as the source of this leak. And that immediately comes with some credibility. Xtasis is a rated tier 2 leaker on the Gaming Leaks forum.
Isn't that kind of cool? That's what I was talking about, where they have reputation systems within some of these subreddits to rank them, which I think is brilliant. You know, they can track it. How accurate the rankings are, I don't know, but I do like the idea of being able to track longtime leakers and their reputations.
This is somebody who correctly predicted the date of the 2025 Developer Direct from Xbox, and was even the source, at least kind of, for some of those recent Oblivion remake leaks that were dominating headlines just a couple of months ago. But just like what happened with those past Oblivion leaks, it turns out that Xtasis was really just reposting or really re-reporting what other supposed insiders already said, occasionally adding a few details himself.
And this is another thing to watch out for, because you'll see leakers, insiders, whatever, who are like, oh, there's like the AC Shadows leak that just happened. They take that and then they say, oh yes, I'm reporting that there's a leak going on and physical copies are out. And then they look at the leak and they're like, ooh, here's a specific piece of info about the main menu screen. And then they leak that. They didn't have any source. They're just reposting something that somebody else leaked, and somebody else was the source, but then they kind of latch onto that for easy credit. So again, like, you just have to be so cautious with these guys whenever they're like, yes, and I have a good reputation, because a lot of the time they don't. They just have a confusing reputation.
With those Oblivion leaks, the actual rumors were posted first by Nate Drake on Reset Era. Nate Drake having a really good track record for leaks, and then a few days later, Xtasis did have a video with some very similar information and a couple of details added. And this time around, while Xtasis did talk about this new Elder Scrolls leak, he isn't the source, or even claiming to be, because Xtasis describes how he learned about this one from Colt Eastwood, a popular Xbox YouTuber. So just make a mental note, if you're consuming content from somebody who said Xtasis is the source of this leak, that means that person didn't even bother to check what Xtasis said themselves. And in reality, a few days ago, Colt Eastwood made a great video covering this leak, tying in some other quotes from Todd Howard to add context on what was being said, but there was one critical piece of information missing from the video itself, and that being the source of this leak, which was a random 4chan post that was made in November.
It's kind of an important thing to mention in your video about a leak, is where the leak started. It's like a little crucial. It's a little important. And to his credit, he did have it linked in the description, but that could have been added afterwards when people are like, bro, you know, that's a 4chan leak that you're talking about, right? And he's like, ooh, let me link it. And then he links it. But that's the thing, is all these videos, all of this is starting from a guy on 4chan. That's where all of this is starting from, to be perfectly clear.
This 4chan post was clearly linked in the description, but there was no mention of 4chan in the video itself. And yeah, that's really the whole thing. A YouTuber covered a 4-month-old 4chan leak on the Elder Scrolls 6. Another insider talked about what that YouTuber talked about in a video, and now a bunch of other people or media outlets are further perpetuating this rumor. And what to me is genuinely the funniest part about all of this is the current gaming leaks and rumor Reddit post about this has over 1,000 upvotes. This clearly attributing Ecstasis as the source of this recent rumor, so it gives it a bit more credibility. But in the process of doing research for this video, I found that that exact same 4chan post was posted on this subreddit right around when it was posted on 4chan, and the post just was downvoted and mocked as being ridiculous and unbelievable. It took me like 3 minutes of effort to realize that the source of this leak was a 4chan post.
And this is why I like Juicehead. Juicehead has a good head on his shoulders, because he'll actually follow this stuff through, which is why I like Juicehead. And I think that you can watch Juicehead and be confident that he's put the effort in. And this, I mean, I think that this is the most telling and revealing thing. The source is the same between these two different 4chan posts, or between these two different Reddit posts. It's the same content that's being addressed, but when it's linked to the original, the primary source, everybody in the community downvotes it. It has 0 upvotes. I mean, it's in the negative, right? Everybody's bashing it as obviously fake and so dumb. And they're even like, don't take all this conclusively. Everything is still early and very early in development and up in the air and could change by release. Which, when your leaker is saying that, they're admitting, yeah, if this ends up not being true, don't blame me. I could still be right. It just changed. It's like, it doesn't tell you anything. But like, the primary source is the same on both of these, but because one is from, where is it?
Same 4chan post was posted in the process of doing.
Oh, here it is. When it's reposted with a separate source that's just a few layers above, it's still the 4chan, but this time it went through Colt, and then it went through Ecstasis, and now it's on the subreddit. People are like, oh yeah, this one's believable. But when it was the actual primary source, they consider it unbelievable and distrustful. So look for the primary source, dig into it, dig into it. It's really not that hard. And I mean, thankfully there are YouTubers like Juicehead who will dig into it and will seek it out and find the OG source and the thing to run with, and whether it's real or at least obviously fake. And in this case, I mean, these leaks I think are pretty obviously, or the post is obviously fake. I don't think this insider had any insider info. I think it's just speculation. And given that speculation, it's not that remarkable. I mean, a lot of this, dragons will return. Okay, that's not a remarkable claim. That's not special. That's not that's very mundane. The game is going to be immersive with fast loading times. What the hell kind of leak is that? Like, what are you talking about? it's gonna be pretty good. Like, okay. The setting has been speculated a ton for a long time. Okay. Yeah. Like Jacob says, combat's coming back. Yeah. We're bringing combat back. Yeah. There will be menus. It's just like, wow, you really got that. The game will have fortress and village building alongside settlement building. Again, they've had building settlements and stuff. Fortress has something, this specifically has been rumored for a while, that you're going to be able to like build your own castle. It's something Todd has talked about in interviews, where he's wanted to add like the ability to have players that can build their own castles and then share those experiences with other players, kind of like what they did with the camp stuff in Fallout 76. So there's been rumors about that type of thing. Progression system is much more flexible, abandoning classes for natural progression and better combat. So they're just going back to Skyrim and their leveling system. Okay, that's not that remarkable. And again, like, the more you dig into each of these bullet pointed claims, the less remarkable they really start to feel. The game might be at the Xbox showcase in July of 2025. Might be. So even if it's not, the leaker still gets to claim they were right, because they said, yeah, I said it might be, so I wasn't sure because my source was accurate. So the leaker gets to claim they're right no matter the outcome. Like, again, it's nonsense. FTC leaks had the game set to release in 2026 at the earliest. This is true and unrelated to this post. The FTC leaks, this is also, they weren't leaks. There were filings they had to make as a part of the FTC hearings. And in some of those filings, there's information about their like timelines and everything. But those were from like 2020 and 2021. So no doubt things have changed. The expectation now is probably realistically that the game is coming in like 2027. They have been working on it. They were doing pre-production before Starfield released even. And with that, you know, it's reasonable to conclude that they probably are going to have something to show relatively soon. But even then, Todd has said many times before that he doesn't like the big, long, protracted marketing cycles, which I grant you is really ironic given how they announced Elder Scrolls 6 going on 7 years ago, and we've seen nothing about it. But nonetheless, I mean, it's still something he said, that he doesn't want there to be like a year between announcements. He wants to announce the game, do the gameplay reveal, and then drop the game 6 months later. That's what he tends to like. I would still be surprised, frankly, if we saw it this year. I think we see like Fallout 76 updates, and maybe there's some New Vegas spin-off or something, not spin-off, expansion for Fallout 76 that comes for the TV show to Fallout 76. Maybe they do something like that. Maybe we see the remaster/remake of Fallout 3 announced. But as for Elder Scrolls 6, I wouldn't be surprised if we have to wait another year. I think that that's a pretty safe assumption at this point, knowing how they like to do things. And there's just a bunch of other stupid things that they said in this leak, where they said stuff like, the studio is in crunch culture right now, which doesn't make sense because the game is nowhere near launch. So what do you mean they're in crunch culture? Like, what are you talking about? And there's just a bunch of other little bitty things where you can tell it's just somebody making stuff up who doesn't really understand anything about the industry or how these games are built. And they're just making stuff up that they think sounds about right. And unfortunately, you've seen a lot of games journalists and news outlets run with this. They repost the story, they title it saying rumor, Elder Scrolls 6 leaks. And it just regurgitates all of this nonsense when ultimately it all goes back to a probably kid that posted on 4chan some random nonsense back in November. And because it was reported on but not super clearly from Colt, and then this other YouTuber reported on it, and then these other people reported on that person's report of it, it just gets buried to the point where nobody knows where it started because nobody's willing to actually dig into the primary sources and find out where it started. And that's just an unfortunate reality of the current industry, is that there's just no desire for figuring out what's actually real. It's just reporting on stuff you think is going to drive the clicks and make it easy to get people to watch and click. So do with that what you will. But realistically, you ready for my predictions for Elder Scrolls 6? These are my predictions that frankly are not that remarkable. Okay, so this is my Elder Scrolls 6 prediction thing. I think there will be some sort of ship customization. I think we will see that similar to what they did in Starfield, but it will be like a galleon or whatever, and you'll be able to select the rooms and organize them as you like it. I think that we see that. You'll have companions that come on and operate the ship with you, and then you'll be able to sail along the coastline. I pray to God, Howard, that it's actually sailing in real time and that it's not something where like you have to quick load. Be like, oh, I want to sail along the coast from this city, and then I load from this city up to this city, and I have to load between them. I hope it's not that. That would be really stupid, but don't get your hopes up. Other things, I think it's reasonable to expect that there's going to be some sort of castle building mode where you're able to build out your own castle and fortress, and you arm it and all of that. I think that the game is going to be pretty large. It's still going to be broken up with load screens all over the place. They've already said a bajillion times it's built with the same technology base as Starfield, so it's not even expected to be Creation Engine 3. It's expected to just be the Starfield engine, but running Elder Scrolls 6. So it's not expected to be significantly different technologically speaking, compared to Starfield. There's also rumors and speculation that they're going to do something with procedural generation, where they're going to do something like maybe dungeons that are procedural. So you have an endless number of dungeons you can go through. That would be something that I'd find to be totally unremarkable if it ended up being true, because it's a pretty safe assumption. They built all these procedural systems for Starfield. Makes sense that they would generate something for Elder Scrolls 6, because that's how Bethesda tends to work, is that they create something for one game, the next game comes out, they build something new, but then they bring everything from the old game into the new one, and then they just keep adding on to it. That's typically how they do things. And it's not a bad way to do it, obviously. I mean, they're a very successful studio, but that's why I think it's kind of unremarkable to say, hey, I think we see something like this thing they built for Starfield, but in Elder Scrolls 6. Yeah, no duh. I think we definitely see that. So other than that, I think that Elder Scrolls 6, my prediction right now, locking it in, is that it will probably end up being more unremarkable than you would expect. I think it's going to launch pretty close to The Witcher 4, and as a result, it's going to be compared a lot to that game, and it probably will be graphically and technologically way behind that, and that's going to lead to all sorts of, you know, compilation videos of how it's behind the times, and it's just going to be Starfield 2.0. I think, I would hope, and I would love it if I was wrong and the game ends up being phenomenal and way better than anybody is expecting. But for Bethesda, the trajectory over the last handful of years, in my opinion, and I think the opinion of a lot of fans, has been that Skyrim was up here, and then as the years have gone by, Fallout 4 was maybe like here in terms of quality, and then like Fallout 76, of course, was like rock bottom. But then after that, Fallout or Starfield was maybe like here, you know, not quite as good as Fallout 4, but you know, it's not atrocious. And I still stand by that. I don't think Starfield is a bad game. I think it's just meh. And then beyond that, I think Elder Scrolls 6, even if it maintains, it'll still feel like a downgrade compared to Skyrim, because I just don't think that BGS is currently set up as a studio to compete with the heavy hitters in the industry. And I think expectations are way higher than they can practically deliver. So that's my expectation. And guess what? If they end up blowing me away and Elder Scrolls 6 ends up being just as good as Skyrim, if not better, I will be way more excited. I'll be way more jubilant, because I was expecting it to be down here. I'll be so excited. I'll be so excited because this is an amazing trajectory shift. For them to make that comeback and nail it, that would be amazing. I'll be so happy. But I'm going to keep my expectations low based on this direction that they've been headed in, which is not the direction you typically want to go. You'd hope that everybody's really excited because your games just keep getting better and better and crazier and crazier. But for BGS, recently it's been the opposite. So my hope is that they surprise me, but I'm going to keep my expectations low. Bada bing, bada boom. He took my thing.